Hello my friends and welcome back to our channel, Home is Where Our Heart Is. My name is Dane, author of the series of books Knowledge to Forage and A Healing Herbal Journey. I hope you're having a beautiful day wherever you are in the world. And thank you all for joining me here today, where I'm absolutely blessed to be spending my morning out marvelling at the magnificent moss. Mosses are a very special plant. They're one of the most ancient forms of plant life in the entire world. They grace our woodlands, trees and rocks with a carpet of soft, luscious green. They're great for the health of the environment and they're great for our health too. So if you're interested, then come for a walk through this woodland with me and let's dive into the magnificent, magical world of moss. Now, mosses are incredible plants. Not only do they have many fantastic rhyming words, marvelous, magnificent, magical moss, they're very, very special plants. Now, they're often overlooked. We normally walk right past moss without thinking twice about it. But when we get down low to the ground, we can see it's actually a teeny tiny miniature forest. A collection of plants, a colony of plants with countless leaves and stems all working together in perfect harmony. Now, moss is a vital habitat for wildlife. Insects such as woodlice and springtails love to live in the moss. Mouses burrow around underneath. Squirrels will collect the moss and use it as blankets in their dens, and birds will come along and pick it up and feast on the insects underneath. Can you imagine what it must be like to be an insect crawling through this little miniature miracle world of moss? It must be like an alien world. Now, mosses belong to a group of plants called bryophytes. And there's more than 20,000 types of bryophytes that grace this good world. And there's more than 1,000 types in the UK where I live. Now, this moss is a rough-stalked feather moss. It's a very feathery moss that you'll find growing commonly in woodlands, on trees and carpeting across logs on the ground. Now, my personal favourite moss is the glittering wood moss, also known as steppe moss. I like it because it's easy to identify with its red stems and it grows up in little steps. You'll also likely come across the common haircap moss, which grows quite tall, up to about 40 centimetres tall. The swan-neck thyme moss, which is one of the most common species you'll see. It covers pretty much anything. It likes to grow near water and its little stems are arched over like a swan. Then we have the pincushion moss, which looks like a little pin cushions. You'll probably recognise this one because it loves to grow on rocks and roofs, for example. And those are the most common mosses you'll find, but there's also rarer, more special mosses out there in the world. Not that you're not special enough, moss, but you also have the red bog moss, which is a bright, brilliant red colour. I love a red bog moss. And then you have a very rare and special moss that goes by the name of Goblin's gold. Goblin's gold moss? What's Goblin's gold moss, I hear you say? Well, Goblin's gold moss is very, very special. It's a rare moss that's bioluminescent. What does that mean? It means it's a moss that glows in the dark. It's a moss that glows green and shimmers. How incredible is that? Now, Goblin's gold grows in caves, on the walls, in caves, and sometimes you'll find it on the floor in forests. And its bioluminescent green glow kind of flickers and shimmers. And it gets its name Goblin's gold because in the olden days, of course, people would walk past a cave or deep in the woods and they'd see this green glowing shimmer under the ground or deep in the backs of caves. And they'd go in exploring, trying to find what this magical shimmer was, assuming that it could potentially be some form of magical gold. They'd get lured into the caves and search or walk into the woods world, looking for the shimmer that caught their eye, but they'd never find it. Thus, they thought they was looking for the goblin's magical gold that would disappear as soon as they got near. Look how mossy this woodland is. We're gonna have to crawl under some trees, through some debris, but we've got to go in and have a closer look. Now we're completely surrounded and submerged in moss. You can really tell when you get in deep into a mossy woodland because the air becomes fresh and clean. Now, moss is a very, very special plant. It's so ancient, it doesn't have roots. What? How can a plant not have roots? Well, what moss has is rhizoids, and these are like tiny little hair-like structures that the moss uses to grab onto things like this moss here and hold on. And it can't really absorb nutrients through these little rhizoids, and unlike plants who absorb all their nutrients from the soil, they can't do that either. So how is the moss staying alive? How is it getting its nutrients? Well, what moss does is it directly absorbs the nutrients from the morning dew, the mist and the rain. So it absorbs its nutrients directly, feeding itself and taking care of itself. And it's because of this the moss can travel and grow wherever it wants to attach on with its rhizoids and thrive. Now, mosses are also so ancient, they're so old that they don't even have flowers. Back in my day, we didn't have flowers, mosses would say. When you get down and you look really closely at moss, you see these little stems with pods here. They kind of look like flowers. What these actually are little pods, and they release spores. Moss releases spores just like fungi. How incredible is that? These little pods release spores. The spores drift away on the wind, floating to wherever they need to go. They'll go down the woods, land on animals, go through the river, drift in the air, and when they land somewhere that they like, they'll then grow into the magnificent moss. Now, mosses, they release spores like fungi, and they're also good friends with fungi too. Unlike most plants and trees that communicate with the mycelium network, the fungal network, the wood wide web, mosses still do this, but they also create a really humid environment, which the fungi loves and needs to thrive. The moss and the fungi still connect and share nutrients with each other through this mycelium network, but the moss also provides a fantastic habitat for the fungi itself. One of the most unique fungi that I can think of that thrives in a woody moss habitat is the bleeding tooth fungus. Have you ever seen the bleeding tooth fungus, also known as the strawberries and cream fungus? This fungi is bright white and it oozes little red droplets like blood. How fascinating is that fungi? How mysterious and magical is this strange creation of Mother Nature? Now, mosses are one of the oldest forms of plant life in the entire world, dating back millions and millions of years. They don't have flowers, they don't have roots, but they may also play an important role not only in our past but in humanity's future too. You see, moss is very special in another way because it can also enter a state of what's known as cryptobiosis. What is cryptobiosis? Is it an X-Man? No, what cryptobiosis is a state of dormancy. When you dry out moss, it enters cryptobiosis like hibernation, and it doesn't need nutrients or anything to survive. And it can also survive extreme things such as being frozen or even pelted with radiation. That means if humanity's future is to travel across the stars, there'll be no doubt that moss will be on board them spaceships because we can dry it out into tiny little cubes. When we arrive at a barren planet such as Mars, for example, you just add water and the moss would unfold, and it would play a vital role in terraforming barren planets and providing a luscious green part of the ecosystem there. Now, the miracles of moss don't end there, because moss isn't just fantastic for the health of the environment and the health of other planets, it's also great for our health too. You see, for centuries, moss has been used as a wild and free source of medicine. Why? Well, this is because certain types of mosses, such as sphagnum moss, for example, contain natural antibacterial properties. It was common in the world wars for soldiers to use moss as dressings for wounds because it would fight the infection and the moss would absorb the fluids. And this is why science is currently studying moss to see if it could make an eco-friendly antibiotic. Moss isn't only great for our physical health, it's also good for our mental health too. And it's been shown just by spending your time in a moss-rich woodland or forest, this can reduce stress, lower blood pressure, and also increase mental clarity. By spending time in the moss, it soothes our mind, body, and soul. This is why moss plays a major role in the Zen Buddhist traditions. You see, in Japan, where the Zen Buddhists thrive and they harvest their lovely, luscious, mindful gardeners, moss plays a major role within these environments, these spaces they create to have a space for peace and to practice their mindfulness. Now, moss in the Japanese Zen Buddhist beliefs traditions is said to symbolize harmony, age, and the passage of time. And the gardeners that work these gardens patiently work with the moss, helping it to spread until you have an entire luscious moss garden. How incredible is that? Imagine taking some time out to sit and spend some time in the moss garden. And it's because we're speaking about these Zen Buddhist traditions, these patient beliefs, that I think we should take a moment now, take a moment out of our hectic modern day to just appreciate some photographs of the moss. As always, people, it's been a pleasure. Don't forget to do all them modern world things such as like, comment, subscribe to this channel, ring the bell. All the engagement that this video gets means YouTube will show it to more people, so our nature-inspired education can cross the land. If you want to own all the knowledge just like this in book form, check out our awesome series of books, Knowledge and Forage, or A Healing Herbal Journey, or both. Treat yourself. If you're interested in receiving our monthly educational subscription pack made by my beautiful wife Stelly that goes by the name of Follow Along Foraging, each month you receive a colourful educational foraging worksheet stuff. They're just great and engaging and I love them. Then make sure to sign up to our Follow Along Foraging. But most importantly of all, above all else, take care of yourselves and I'll see you all next time. Peace.
A marvellous magical spore of moss floats above the world's chaos. Landing soft, it needs no roots, waking with a tea of dew. Through drought and frost, through sun and storm, it thrives where others would be torn. A timeless traveller, bold yet small, spreading life where none dare fall. To the marvellous moss we all owe a debt, a quiet force will no longer